Welcome back to the Chosen Baseball Journey with former MLB slugger Kareem Garcia. I'm Jonathan A. Cohen, author of the Bible 3.0, The Six Commandments of the Chosen Life, plus moonlighting as a partner at a law firm, Kormans LLP, as a real estate corporate lawyer. And Kareem, buddy, I had a few ideas for today's episode, but at the time of taping, everything changed for us. Shohei Ohtani went bananas last night from when our recording. So we're going to be doing everything and anything Shohei Ohtani today. So we had two pieces of good news. We had one piece of bad news. I'll get those out of the way. So first of all, on the bad news front, Juan Soto crashing to a wall, not so great.
I saw that he was injured, but I mean, at least he walked off the field. He was fine, so we'll figure out what's going to happen. Hopefully, he will be ready for the playoff. I mean, that's what they need. They already clinched that division. No need to put him on jeopardy his next few games over here. Let him heal.
Exactly. And he's going in for x-rays. We'll find that out shortly at the time of taping. But you know what? If he takes a few days off, not the worst thing in the world. In one of my fantasy baseball leagues, I'm head to head with one guy. He's got 30 points above me, but he's got Juan Soto. Juan Soto gets a few days off, and that guy doesn't get Juan Soto points. I'm not unhappy about that. Uh,
You should be very happy about that.
I made one of the rookie mistakes. In my league, you only get a maximum amount of starting pitchers, the amount of starts you get. And I maxed out the amount of starts I got by early August. So I had to drop almost all my starters. I had to pick up all closers. I still have Paul Skeens and Framber Valdez on my bench just so the other guy can't get the stats for them. And he's coming close. He has only 9 more starts to go, and he's going to max out also. So this is going head to head, but I had a 200-point lead on him, and I let it vanish, Kareem.
That's not good. Hopefully, you don't have Pringle with you on your closers.
Remember I told you I had two different leagues, one where I did the drafting and one where they did the drafting?
Yeah.
The one where I did the drafting, I took all hitters and I figured out the pitching, right? I have a 700-point lead in that league. So
Wow.
you
You're
always
crushing.
draft hitters, find the pitchers somehow. It's no different, draft hitters and find the pitchers, unless their name is Paul Skeens. The last little bit of business before Otani, I see you're wearing an NFL jersey. Oh, wow. It's right. It's NFL season, isn't it?
It is. We're already there.
And first play or second play, Tua's already gone for the season. Looks like, oh man, it's rough when you have a quarterback that's concussion prone.
Yes, it is. Unfortunately, it is a big problem. And I don't know. Well, what can I tell you? These guys get hit every single moment as soon as they snap the ball.
So Houston Texans, on their way to the Super Bowl.
Nah, I mean they're gonna make the playoff. I mean, you still gotta go through Kansas City, and Kansas City are the champions. And I like Kansas City too. It's not like I only pick one team. I really like the Kansas City. I like Cincinnati. I like the Texans. I always like the Cowboys, but unfortunately, when you play against Kansas City, it's always difficult with my homes over there.
I can tell you, living in Canada, all we ever hear is that Taylor Swift and Brittany Mahomes are not in the same press box during the games. And man, I'm getting very, very sick of that. Let's just talk about football. Let's not talk about Taylor Swift anymore, please.
Yes, and Travis Kelce is the best friends with my homes, so that's kind of difficult right there to go out to dinner in couples.
Maybe after the election in November, they'll figure it out.
There we go.
So, a guy who's a very, very intelligent man is Shohei Ohtani. Shohei Ohtani is a $700 million man with all of his endorsements. This man is worth billions, I'm sure already. I'm going to tell you right now, Kareem, when he gets inducted into Cooperstown with the Japanese media there, it is going to be the biggest turnout in Cooperstown history. I was just there last year. They still have a wing just for Babe Ruth. They are going to have a Shohei Ohtani wing if they don't have it already. This man is getting it all set. He's going to be a unanimous pick. And also, he started the season on a little bit of controversy. Remember that?
Yes. Something about betting sports on his translator, something like that. Who remembers that? It's way back in April. Who cares?
So Otani says, okay, he sits down with his media people and he says, listen, we won the World Baseball Classic. I even struck out Mike Trout, my own teammate. People are still high about that. But, people still bring up this interpreter and bring up the betting and whether I really did it, didn't do it. I need to get away from this. And by the way, I know a lot of people are going to be yelling at me right now. I'm very apologetic about that, but conspiracy theories. So Shohei says, what is the best way to make people forget about the betting? I know I'll be the first 50-50 man. And not only will I be the first 50-50 man to get the 50-50, I will have the biggest game in MLB history. That's pretty good planning by Shohei Ohtani, is it not?
Oh, he did incredible planning by doing that. Nobody remembers what happened back in April. Right now, they're talking about the 51-51 club. It's not a 50-50 anymore. He already is 51-51. He might end up 55-55.
Well, I have so many notes on this that we don't have enough time, but I'm going to do my best. I'll go step by step. So when we entered play yesterday, it was September 19th at the time of taping, was yesterday. He was at 48 home runs, 49 stolen bases. By the way, Kareem, he only got caught 4 times, okay, on the season. Pretty freaking incredible. So I was thinking as I was making the plan, what's the chances by the time we get to the taping, he'll do 50-50? I hope he does. Well, he became, like you said, the first 50-50 man. There was nobody beyond 42-42. I didn't realize that. I thought there was a 45-45. There was not. He got his 49th, 50th, and 51st home runs, plus stole bases 50 and 51. So he needed 2 home runs, 1 stolen base to get to 50-50. So what did he do? He said, I'll just obliterate it. I'll go 6 for 6, 3 home runs, 2 doubles, 2 steals, 4 runs scored, 10 RBIs. While I kept thinking from our last taping that the Padres are the ones who are going to go further, if Ohtani keeps this up, I think he's just going to win the World Series by himself. What the heck? How did this guy go 6 for 6 like this, Kareem?
Oh, that's incredible. I mean, let's be honest. The last home run was a chippy. They put a position player, and he just lobbed a ball right there, and hit the 51st. I mean, you have to still gotta hit the ball to hit the 51, but the 50 going opposite field, against the lefty and in Miami, it was incredible, to become the 50-50 guy. And he also is not only a millionaire, he made someone else a millionaire. The guy that caught the 50 home run ball is going to sell it for at least $1 million too.
And think about this, think how much pressure is on him going into this. He's the guy that's running the team. All their pitchers are injured, guys are coming back, guys are injured again. Who's their closer, And there's talk he's going to be pitching in the playoffs, and he's been ramping up. By the way, in the meantime, in his spare time, he's been rehabbing as a pitcher, and he's going to return as a pitcher. So he's got the pressure of pitching in the background, getting ready. His team has not yet clinched to go to the playoffs. He's got 50-50 sitting on his back. What does he do? 6 for 6, 50-50, clinches the playoff spot. By the way, it was his first time going to the playoffs, by the way, because he never ever reached with the Angels. Wow. Like, obviously, big money player. Teams have to be terrified facing this guy going into the playoffs. I'm going to assume he's going to get a lot of walks in the playoffs.
I mean, with the hitters that the Dodgers have, and he's been the leadoff hitter, it's almost difficult to walk him, because you got Mookie Betts, you have Freeman, you have Muncy, you have all these guys, you got the Oscar. All these guys not only got power, but they're always good hitters too. They hit between 290 and 300. So if you walk Otani, you just do him a favor because he's going to steal second. Base hit, you're already 1 down on the playoffs. You don't want to give up any runs during the playoffs. So They're going to try to pitch him very carefully. I mean, I don't think they're going to pitch around him, at least not on the first at bat. And depends how the game is going. You'll figure it out. With 2 outs, maybe I walk him and I go with the next guy. I mean, you got to see what is the setup for the playoffs.
Did they have to sit Teoscar Hernandez that game? By the way, he's on the fantasy team where I'm neck and neck. And I see the 20-run game, and I'm like, oh, Teoscar must have done really well. Teoscar got zero because they sat Teoscar. But look, at this time of year, let's be, and all kidding aside, Kareem, um, you got to give guys maintenance days at this point going into the playoffs. They got to go in fresh, right? Like I think people live in fantasy land where they forget spring training is really, really long. 162 games, then going into the playoffs. Unless you've clinched the crown, the division, you clinched a playoff spot, you got to give these players some rest days, correct?
Absolutely correct. Because if you go all the way to the World Series, it's 181 games total. So it's 19 games in the playoff plus 162 that you play. So imagine that through the whole year, your body has to get a rest once in a while, especially right now in September when you're too close to the playoff and you're very close to clinching your division. Some of the teams already clinched their divisions, so they can rest their guys and not have these type of problems like the Dodgers. But the Dodgers is in a competitive division where the San Diego Padres and the Arizona Diamondbacks are not lying up. So they continue to play well. They continue to win those guys. So the Dodgers got to continue to win to make it, you know?
Your gut feeling, Otani's going to play all the games going right to the end of the season?
I think so. I think they will. I mean, because of the way that the Japanese culture is, I think these guys is trying to not even. He already set the record. He wants to put it higher, unreachable, where somebody else is going to have to, you know, do something super special like he did already.
And let's be realistic here. If he was not pitching and never was going to pitch, he's athletic enough that he would be playing the outfield. He could learn first base. He could probably learn third base. He could probably catch if he wants to. I don't think there's anything he can't do. Um, but it doesn't make sense, if you're gonna be pitching and you're gonna have that wear and tear on your arm, it makes sense why he's DH. But to me, he's not the typical DH. He's not David Ortiz, Big Poppy. Like this guy, if he wanted to play the field and they didn't have to worry about preserving him, he could be out there.
He could play right field right now because of the arm that he has. You know, he can throw BBs all the way to third base, all the way to home plate. You know, throwing guys out. I mean, even center fielder, he can play center field just like Aaron Judge. He's probably a same or more athletic than Aaron Judge at this moment. So he could play any position like you mentioned. But for me, it will be a better use in the outfield.
Two of the statistics I wanted to cover, obviously, because when you're in the 50-50 club, it's all about home runs and stolen bases. So, firstly, he's had home runs. Shohei Ohtani has had, and by the way, everybody turning in, again, Shohei Ohtani, 50-50 club, 6 for 6, getting there. We're still mind struck by this and kind of tearing down the numbers. So, he's had seasons of 46 and 44 home runs. I was thinking he went to the Dodgers. Why did he go to the Dodgers? He could have gone to Toronto. In Toronto, in that stadium, he could have had 70 home runs. But going from Anaheim Stadium to Dodger Stadium, not much of a difference from a hitter park perspective, is there?
No, not at all. I mean, they're very close, a few hours away from each other. And for him, the Japanese, you know, people that is a very culture in Los Angeles, it's a lot of Japanese people, so he feels very comfortable, like home. If he wants to eat some really good Japanese food, I'm sure he can find it anywhere. And for him to be relaxed and his environment, he's been in California his whole career. Why change?
But both are considered pitchers parks, like real pitchers parks. These are not traditional hitter parks. And so if you take a guy like Otani and you put him in Yankee Stadium, you put him in the Rogers Center, I think he would prosper way more. And I was kind of thinking, but now watching him, I guess he's gonna hit home runs wherever he goes. He's that freaking good. But I didn't think he was gonna have a 50 home run season in him. I didn't envision that. I thought he maxed out. Are we gonna see a day? Is he gonna reach 60? Can he reach 70 one day?
Well, like you mentioned, Dodger Stadium at night doesn't carry the ball very well. During the game days, yes, the ball carries a lot better. But nighttime is sometimes it's a little more difficult. But these guys so strong, it doesn't really matter if it's the ball, the wind is blowing in or anything like that. As soon as he hits the ball is gonna go. He hits the ball to left field like he was a right-handed hitter. I mean, he hits 400 to left field. So it doesn't really matter where he plays. He could have played in Baltimore and hit 80. He could play in Colorado and hit the same thing, 80 home runs.
And so that's the home run part of it. Let's say, you know what, I'm not that surprised about the 50 from that perspective. But the stolen bases for sure. I know that they've changed up the rules, but even still, the rule change is not the first year of it. And he's had 26 stolen bases in his career, but he led the league with 10 caught steals. Now we're at a point, he's already passed 50 steals, only been caught 4 times. Has he been working out with Ricky Henderson and Vince Coleman? Like, is this always been within him or what's going on? He claims, since I'm not pitching, I decided to dabble in stolen bases. Like, what is going on there?
I think he really went over there and started studying pitchers and their movements to steal the bases. The Dodgers always been really keen into stealing bases, especially with the leadoff hitters. When I was younger, when I was with the Dodgers organization, they always teach you how to bunt the ball, how to steal the bases, how to look for key parts of the pitchers as soon as they lift their arm, as soon as they turn a little bit, little things that you can think that you can steal the base easier. And now with the new rule changing, they make it even easier for them. And this guy, I mean, can run, is big, so I'm sure he's looking a lot of video on the guys that he's facing, especially on stealing, to make this happen.
Well, I got some difficult Shohei Ohtani questions for you, Kareem. You're a guy that never shies away from a fastball. You're never a guy that shies away from a catcher blocking the plate. You ready for these questions on Shohei Ohtani?
Go ahead.
All right. You had a night to think about this. We did talk about it last night. You brought up the Mark Whiten game. I didn't
I
tell
got
you
something.
I didn't tell you at the time. My first time ever in Cooperstown, I was 17 years old, and the only thing I wanted to see was Mark Whiten's bat. Mark Whiten had just had that famous game of 4 home runs with the Cardinals, and I got to see and I took a picture with Mark Whiten's bat. So I was all awestruck. And I watched the Mark Whiten game. In my opinion, the Otani game beats the Mark Whiten game. Now that you've had a night to think about it, which who had the bigger performance in your opinion now?
Well, the thing is that I have to bring somebody else to the table too, not only Mark.
Okay.
Ex-Dodger,
Sean Green.
6 for 6 with a double, 4 home runs, 10 RBIs. All right. Not only that, major league record, total bases 19. All right.
Yep.
So he not only tied a major league record with the 4 homers, like Mark Whiten. Mark Whiten also tied the record with 12 RBIs. But Sean Green has the most total bases in one single game of 9 innings.
Good point. Good point. My only thing I'm going to say is because he had the pressure of the pennant race plus the 50-50, a lot of guys, tend to choke on that, right? Kareem, you've seen guys that have to hit 50 home runs. All of a sudden they go a week, 2 weeks with no home runs. Otani hits more home runs when the pressure is on. But the fact that we're even talking about the Sean Green game and talking about the Mark Whiten game, that shows how incredible this game was. I mean, it could be debated till the end of time. There's no great formula to be able to perfectly say this, but I have to say, you know what? Those are three pretty big performances, but I will stick with my Otani pick. If you had to pick from those three, which one's the bigger game? You're going to go with Sean Green on this one?
It's difficult. The only difference between the 6 for 6 from Otani to Sean Green is Otani got to 49 and 50 stolen bases on the season. And Sean Green probably has 0 stolen bases that year. So it's a bigger deal what Otani is doing or did yesterday, not only because he reached those milestones and put in those records, but he did it to help his team to continue to get closer to get to the playoffs.
And nothing against Mark Whiten, but I guarantee you, if you're friends with Mark Whiten, It probably go. I can't. I don't know if you go one day without hearing about that 4 home run game. I'm sure he talks about it every single day. For Otani, this was another day in the ballpark. He's already forgotten about it. That's the funny part. And Kareem, he's not even done yet. Like he is not done. This guy's gonna play. Hopefully, God willing, if he stays healthy, at least another 10 seasons. It's gonna be scary to see what this man's gonna do before the time is done. I'm gonna pick on Mr. Otani a little bit now, so I have a couple of beefs with him. Number one, Mr. 5151. Why does he only have 77 walks? I don't get this. You would think the man would have been intentionally walked already 100 times. What's going on there?
Little hitter again. They got a pitch to him, and he is a good contact hitter. It's hitting 300 with 51 jacks. So the guy is got a good eye, but at the same time, he's a contact and power hitter. He's a 5-tool player, just to put it that way.
Well, that being said, we're at 158 strikeouts already, and this is a guy that's going to come close, if not breaking 200 Ks a few times in his career. He goes for power, I get it, but when a guy strikes out a lot and doesn't walk a lot, that tends to bother me a little bit. But when it comes to him, people don't seem bothered by it. Any way he can shorten down on those Ks, or is that just part of his game?
I think it's part of his game because of the power that he has. He takes risks. You know, sometimes he's dependent on the games. He's swinging for the fences sometimes to bring 2 or 3 RBIs home. And you're going to strike out. That's regardless. Everybody's going to strike out. Some people is going to strike out less, like a Rice. It took 25 games to strike out again. And Otani is a power hitter with a lot of speed, lead off, but I mean, he's going to strike out a little more.
You think about the legacy of Major League Baseball and how long it's been around. And for anybody that hasn't gone to Cooperstown, you have to go. It's so magical there. I've been there 3 times and I wish I can go every year. And, walking through and looking at the history, you think about a guy like Willie Mays, Hank Aaron. How is it possible that nobody got to 40-40 before Jose Canseco? You kind of think about it. You think that could have happened. It didn't. He was the only 44 guy forever. Then a few guys joined in: Barry Bonds, A-Rod, Soriano, Acuna with his 41-73, which is another planet. But reading about it, it's funny. I was reading an article last night and they were saying, the threshold between 20 to 30 home runs is difficult to hit in a season. 30 to 40, very, very difficult. 40 to 50 is on another planet. Kareem, are we going to live to see another 50-50 guy?
The only person that I think that can do it if he's healthy, Ronald Acuna. That's the only guy that can probably think that he can probably get to 50. That's the only if he's healthy.
Are we going to see a 60-60 guy?
Ooh, I hope I do, but it's very difficult to see. But probably not. Unless Jackson starts stealing bases.
My thinking is, unless Otani goes and bathes in some special creams or something and decides, okay, I want to start doing 60, 70 home runs, you can't pitch and get 60, 70 home runs and steal bases. You got to pick one or the other. I don't want to cheapen the legacy of it, and I don't want to cheapen the 50-50 at all. But the fact that they changed the game as far as the bases and the pickoff throws, it seems like it's a lot easier now to steal bases than it's ever been. If this was 10 years ago, 5 years ago, is he getting 50 stolen bases?
Again, I mean, he's a guy that goes back to the videos, study the guys, is just putting the time into it. It's difficult to say no because what he's doing, but like you say, everything changes is for to get better. But I mean, who knows, really, to tell you the truth. Ricky Henderson stole 100 bases. He stole more bases when he broke the record than after he broke the record. He stole a lot less bases in his career.
Can you imagine how many stolen bases Ricky Henderson and Vince Coleman could steal in today's game based on how base stealing is?
One a game, 162.
Every time. Shohei Ohtani, NL MVP.
Absolutely.
I mean, Mookie Betts going down, that obviously didn't help for Betts, and Betts was having a great season. Like he was flirting with 400. I agree. I'm gonna guess this is gonna be his third MVP if I'm not mistaken,
Mhm.
and I'm gonna guess he's got at least five more in the bag before he's done.
I give him three more at least, and a couple Cy Youngs in there. So
Is Shohei Ohtani, Kareem Garcia, in your estimation, is he really gonna pitch in the 2024 playoffs?
I wish, I hope I can see him fishing the playoffs. That'd be incredible. And I know that if they're thinking about it, it's because this guy is pretty much ready to do something. So they won't be throwing this idea in the air if they were not positive that this guy could probably pitch. Probably as a reliever, closer, something like that. Maybe to start. I don't think they give him a start right away.
If you were gonna guess, let's magically say they're gonna make it to the World Series. Do you see a planet where he's gonna be a starting pitcher at any point in the playoffs? Is he gonna be middle relief or is he gonna be closing?
It's probably to me closing. If you need someone to get you 6 outs, that's the guy that you call because he's gonna be throwing 100, 102 over there only for those 2 innings. And to throw, to start the game is different. It's different preparation.
If you're gonna put yourself in Shohei Otani's shoes right now, and I came to you and I said, Shohei Ohtani, what's the bigger moment in your career? 6 for 6, clinching 50-50, clinching the playoffs, or striking out Mike Trout and winning the WBC for Japan? What's your bigger moment?
I don't think he's even thinking about my Trout right now. Out of the ones that you told me, probably the making the playoff. It's always been on his mind. But I think on his mind is not only making the playoff, it's winning the World Series. Having that ring on your finger.
And this is where, I feel bad for the Dodgers in this. I mean, feel bad. I mean, they have a freaking $300 billion payroll, but so many starting pitchers down. Glass now gone again. And Glass now said at the beginning of the year, I don't worry too much about my arm and stuff like that. I'll throw maximum velocity all the time. I think that came back to bite him. We saw that coming a mile away, unfortunately. But Yamamoto, if he's healthy, you got Otani potentially pitching in the playoffs. This monkey's off the back, but he will not rest. He will play until he's 70 until he gets that ring.
Absolutely. But he will get it. He will get it. Maybe this year you still gotta go through Philadelphia. I like Philadelphia's team. They've been strong the whole year. They're not letting up. And I think they're gonna have a great match for the National League Championship Series. That's how I see it.
Based on his first 7 seasons, when you project his numbers, this is a guy that's going to break 600 home runs, going to get potentially 500 stolen bases. He already has a lifetime over 360 OBP, over a 560 slug, plus all the pitching stats. Kareem, am I crazy in saying, all said and done, if he stays on his trajectory, he is bigger than Babe Ruth. He is the biggest baseball player of all time.
If he would have come to America earlier, on his 20s, early 20s, because he's 30 now, he would have break every single record for sure, pitching wise and hitting wise, and he would probably get to 700. Unfortunately, he came, 7 years ago. He missed a few years that he could have played in the major leagues, but still, I mean, he's gonna be out there. He's already broke some of the baby records, at least on pitching wise, and some of the hitting wise too. I mean, he's not gonna. I don't know if he's gonna hit 60 home runs or 61 home runs. I don't know if he's gonna win the World Series like Baby Ruth has. So it's just different things to think about. So it's still got 9 years to see what happens with him.
Then, regardless of what happens this season in the playoffs, you got a fully healthy Shohei Ohtani. You start off the 2025 season. Are you going back to a 6-man rotation? Is he a full-time starting pitcher again and a full-time DH again? What do you do with this guy? Where is it going to reach the point? Because look at when he got to focus on hitting what he's done. At what point do the Dodgers say it's more valuable to just keep him as a hitter or is it up to him at this point till he's ready to change it?
I think it's up to him at this point. Once you pay that guy $700 million, he has a little bit to say, on what he does in every day at the field. And if he wants to pitch, the Dodgers are not going to stop him. If he gets another Tommy John surgery, maybe he's done pitching and he's just focusing on hitting. But right now, I think he's still going to pitch. He's going to pitch for a few more years. Hopefully, he doesn't get hurt anymore and continue to do both things. That'd be amazing to see him for another 5, 6 years doing the same thing, pitching and hitting. I don't think I'm going to see another 50 stolen bases for him on his career after he starts pitching again. You got to take care of the arm, and every time you slide, you can potentially hurt something on your back or your shoulders. So I don't think I'm going to see another 50 stolen bases.
Yeah, you read my mind on that, and I agree on that as well. I think it's just going to come to the point when he's going to see maybe I can get 80 home runs or something like that. At some point, I think when he's going to be in his mid 30s, he'll say, maybe, you know what, I'm going to dabble in just becoming maybe I'll get 100 home runs, something along those lines. But if it's Otani, I wouldn't be shocked about it. I see 3 more seasons of starting pitching, and then I think he's going to be a flamethrower closer. And he's a guy who can get easily 50 saves in a season. And if he so chooses, and just watching him in the WBC and how he came out like that, and just so good under pressure, there's an inkling to me, what? A valuable closer is still worth a lot to you. And if he could save himself from the starting pitching and the wear and tear and simply pitch fewer innings, but be that flamethrower at the end of the year, watching the Dodgers, that's one of their Achilles heels is they have not had a great closer since Gagne, really, if you think about it. I mean, there's guys who come in and out, but we could have the closer in the making, and that's where I see the future of Otani.
Yeah, I see him. At least right now for the playoffs, I think they're going to use him on the late innings right now, 8 or 9. Set up pitcher, or even closing the games, especially if you are in the World Series.
Well, it's a very exciting time to be a Dodgers fan, and you watch this stuff, and you're saying, "Wow, he's unstoppable. We're gonna win. We're gonna score 20 runs every single game." All I'll say is there are 0 for 5 games that will happen, 0 for 6 games, and you know what? The guy is human, believe it or not. He is not a robot, but it will be a lot of fun to watch. This has been really great reminiscing and celebrating Otani's big achievements as far as hitting 50-50. We'd love to hear everybody's comments. What do you think? Will he do it again? Will there be a 60-60 member ever? Love to hear from you, the fans. And stay tuned for next week. We'll come back. We're going to move from one Hall of Famer to another. After talking about 50-50 achievements, I want to talk about Tony Gwynn and who's the next potential Tony Gwynn. Stay tuned on that. This is the Chosen Baseball Journey.